You have to keep in mind I was diagnosed 8 years ago. And 8 years ago, there were no drugs. There was no hope for patients. Since then, there's been changes. But when I was diagnosed, I was probably diagnosed for different reasons. I wasn't diagnosed because I felt bad, because I didn't. I felt great. I was a triathlete. I was training for a race. The reason I got diagnosed is my swim time started dropping. I wasn't concerned about my health. I was concerned about winning my race and my times. So it was a different reason. When I was diagnosed, I had at that point in time probably been 3 years as an unknown or silent patient. I went through every nebulizer known to man, different drugs for athletic asthma, chronic bronchitis, and a lot of misdiagnosis with my general practitioner. I finally went to a pulmonologist, had a high-resolution CT scan, which is kind of the gold standard of diagnosis, and was told in no uncertain terms, in a fairly cold, sterile way, that I was living with a disease that had no cure, IPF. To that point in time, I had never heard the word, as most patients never have. So, like everyone else, I went home in kind of what I call shock. My wife Patty and I sat and had a glass of wine to talk about it. I made two things happen at that very point in time, and it's crystal clear today as anything in my life. I thought to myself, I will never, ever let this happen to somebody else. To be told you're going to die in 2 to 3 years and there is no hope, go home and get your affairs in order. I went home and got my training in gear and entered a 5K the next month, which I won my age group. I've since then raised funds for research, funds to find the cure, and that cure isn't there yet, but hope is. And the hope is we now have drugs that can slow down the progression of pulmonary fibrosis. The patient community has grown, which is unfortunate, but a fact. And based on whose numbers you look at, I feel there's probably 150,000 people in the US living with pulmonary fibrosis. And they have all different stages of progression of the disease. And we, as an organization, the PF Warriors, which is a group I founded 4 years ago in Dallas, and the reason I founded the PF Warriors group was that there was nobody I could turn to as another patient to get insights and knowledge, because like every patient, I was out there searching for what I call the silver bullet, that cures something that somebody else has missed. Looked at diet and exercise and all those ingredients, trying to find it. So the PF Warriors started with 3 people. It was myself, my wife Patty, and a nurse at the hospital in Dallas that I was attending at that time, called UT Southwestern. It's a large teaching hospital. So we had a meeting, 3 people. Second meeting, we got a few more, and we started growing. We now are approaching 1,800 members worldwide. We have in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is a very large area with about 2,800 patients, give or take. We've got about 280 patients, or roughly 10% of the patient population. We're growing that constantly. We're now global. We're in 13 countries. We're well represented. And what has changed my life and others, I think, is a realization by people that live with this disease that that's the key word, and that's live. Dying is easy, living is hard. And so what we try to provide now for our patient community is knowledge, inspiration, engagement, and support. And we do that through 2 meetings a month. We have a physical meeting where people get together and talk on a one-to-one basis. We have virtual meetings where people online can come together worldwide, and the meetings are both well attended. We'll have anywhere from 80 to 120 people at a meeting, be it virtual or real, and that's growing. We're expanding now. We're now affiliating with other groups, other associations, and as that takes place, we're finding this growing awareness within both the medical community and the patient community that before we were patients, we were people, and we still are. And that realization is important because once you become a patient, it changes the way you look at the world. All of a sudden, you're no longer Bill, you're now a patient Bill. And the doctors, in turn, once they look at you as a patient and not a person, react differently to you. So one of my missions is to kind of revitalize the concept that this is a community of people living with a rare disease, not a community of patients living with a rare disease. And I think that's one of my goals.